Hi, I'm Sean McBride. I'm an engineer at Typekit, and my proposal for Fluent is about bridging the gap between client-side and server-side web applications. Typically, web apps run into two buckets. Either it's a server-side application with just a little bit of jQuery for behavior on the client, or it's a totally client-side application written all in JavaScript that just uses some APIs from a server. But sometimes certain types of interactions within the same application are better suited to one model or another. And sometimes you actually want to use both models for the same page. For example, a rich client-side application for actual humans that have JavaScript enabled, but then for spiders or clients that don't have JavaScript enabled, you might want the server to be able to serve a page that actually works. And wouldn't it be better if we had patterns that made these models play more nicely together as we were developing? I'm excited to speak about this because of some personal experience at Typekit. We recently built a new font browsing interface that makes it really easy for our customers to narrow down our collection of fonts from everything to just the fonts that have high contrast and serifs and heavyweights in the family, for instance. And we knew as we were designing that interaction that we wanted it to be fast, fun, and really app-like, so that the lag between clicking a button and seeing a new set of fonts that matched your criteria was really, really small. In order to do that, we knew that we'd need to use mostly a client-side application model for that part. But the rest of our application is mostly a server-side application written in Ruby and using little bits of jQuery for interaction. So we knew that that model wasn't really going to be compatible with the model that we wanted to use for this new feature. So we prototyped and we iterated. We tried a lot of different libraries, and we eventually settled on Knockout.js. But I don't want to talk about a specific library or technology in this talk as much as I want to talk about higher level patterns and concepts that allowed us to be successful in those goals. I think there are really three things that allowed us to do that. The first is declarative bindings, and that allowed us to separate higher level concepts of application behavior from all the low level nitty-gritty DOM manipulation details that are normally mixed in. The second thing is the model view model pattern that Knockout follows. We were able to adapt that pattern for our application, where the models are actual data models on the server written in Ruby. The views are pure HTML with the declarative bindings that I mentioned earlier. And then the view models are written in JavaScript on the client, and they sort of manage the interaction on the client and also are populated by data from the server. And the final thing is client and server-side template rendering, or the ability to render the same templates on both the client and the server. And in the client, we render those declarative bindings in the templates using our view model, and in the server, we were able to render those same bindings using the same data object that we would otherwise send to the client. So I'm excited to talk about this stuff. I think some of the patterns that we found are interesting and potentially more broadly useful, and hopefully you guys are excited too. Thanks a lot.